Welcome to our Channing Memorial Church web service. I light our chalice today with the thought that we are each the flame of Unitarian Universalism. We burn with passion for truth-telling and for honest seeking. We are willing to demonstrate to the world our zeal for living an authentic life. This weekend is one of those times when Judaism and Christianity touch. On May 30, Jewish people celebrate the festival called the Feast of Weeks, or Shavuot. And on May 31, Christians observe Pentecost. Though each of these religious events have a different focus and purpose, they both have one thing in common. They emphasize enthusiastic fervor. That's what I want to talk about today, living with enthusiasm. But first, our prelude, played by Janet Grant. Silvia Mordini, a yoga spiritual teacher, wrote a blog about living with enthusiasm. Jenny Spaulding, a member of Channing Church, will read an excerpt from the blog for us today.
Good morning. Our reading for today is entitled The Power of Enthusiasm by Silvia Mordini, meditation teacher. Happiness is a direct experience of enthusiasm. Remember, it is not how or when we accomplish something that matters most. It is the sense of enthusiasm during the process that demonstrates our quality of life. As entrepreneur and author Bo Bennett puts it, enthusiasm is not the same as just being excited. One gets excited about going on a roller coaster. One becomes enthusiastic about creating and building the roller coaster. If you wake up dreading the day, worried about the hours ahead, and already wishing you could be done with it and back in bed, well, that's just not cool. The first thing we reach for in the morning shouldn't be our iDevice or Droid. It should be consciously choosing the most productive thought that stocks our energy by Excel the entire day. When your morning enthusiasm becomes a habit, Robin Sharma writes in The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, that your life can look like this. You will wake up every morning with a limitless reservoir of energy and enthusiasm. All your thoughts will be focused on your definite objective. You won't have time to waste time. You will automatically erase the worry and habit and become far more effective and productive. Enthusiasm gives us the chance to go beyond our happiness set point. According to geneticists, we have an inborn happiness set point of about 50% that we return to whether good things or bad things happen. We have 10% influence based on environmental factors, and up to 40% that is affected by intentional activity. Practicing the language and behavior of enthusiasm is making the choice to be happy. This action helps us harness the power of our minds and hearts to work together. When what we think, feel, and do are in alignment, we naturally live in a state of joy. That doesn't mean it comes easy. It takes real effort. However, this exertion is well worth it, and we should never let a day go by without putting forth our best effort to live with passion.
In the Jewish religious tradition, Shavuot marks two observances. First is the ancient practice of celebrating the grain harvest of early summer. It is one of the three festivals of ancient Israel known as a pilgrimage festival, when Israelite males were commanded to come to Jerusalem to bring offerings of the first fruits of their harvest to the temple to honor God, the Creator. The second event being observed by Shavuot is the day which by tradition the Jewish people say God gave the commandments on Mount Sinai to Moses, and God and Israel entered into a covenantal relationship. There are religious observances at the synagogue with readings of the story of Ruth and the Ten Commandments, and with meals of special food focusing on dairy products and study of the Torah at home. It's a joyful celebration of the divine relationship between God and the Jewish people. Pentecost is the Christian holy day, observing an event said to have happened around the year 30 of the Common Era in the Jewish capital of Jerusalem. A narrative found in the Christian Testament book of Acts of the Apostles describes how the apostles were together in a house, suddenly filled with the Holy Spirit that is said to have come in the sign of tongues of fire over each person. Now the apostles, who up to this time had been pretty much in hiding, afraid of the religious authorities, suddenly were filled with great zeal and enthusiasm, and then with great energy began to preach and witness to multitudes of Jews who were assembled on the streets to observe the Festival of Weeks. Now, outwardly, both of these observances are different, but for both, at their core, is the notion of the power of religious zeal and enthusiasm in a relationship with the divine. Religious zeal and enthusiasm gives people the mental and emotional motivation to work to develop their faith. Now, while there can be great dangers when such zeal goes off track as a result of wrong information, faulty interpretation of religious teachings, misguided motivations, cultural or social hatred, a quest for power or for personal ego, when religious zeal is shown with honorable, moral, and ethical purpose and have personal and corporate humility underlying it and love, there can be much good accomplished. Our Unitarian Universalists work for racial justice, marriage equality, the environment, workers' rights, immigration justice are based upon our principles, and I think are examples of righteous zeal and enthusiasm that is helping the world. But living with zeal and enthusiasm is not just for religious life. It is for everyday secular existence. Enthusiasm for life is living with full-out excitement. It has nothing to do with the condition of one's body. Rather, it has everything to do with one's mind and spirit. Enthusiastic people feel and display passion about life and about what they're doing. They do things with a good attitude and good emotional and intellectual energy, and in return get satisfaction from what they do because they are enjoying it. Gahil Gibran wrote, "Enthusiasm is a volcano on whose top never grows a grass of hesitation." Author Napoleon Hill of the self-help book Think and Grow Rich, which is among the 10 best-selling self-help books of all time, once said, "Enthusiasm is a state of mind that inspires and arouses one to put action into the task at hand. Enthusiasm bears the same relationship to a human being that steam does to a locomotive. It is the vital moving force that impels action. Or a person with enthusiasm could be described as Wendelin van Drayden had one of her characters say about another in her book, Flipped. Some of us get dipped in flat, some in satin, some in gloss, but every once in a while you find someone who's iridescent. Iridescent. I think that is a great way to describe a person who lives with zest and enthusiasm. Now, we've all met, or are ourselves, a person living with enthusiasm for life, enjoying every moment, knowing that they or we are a valid part of the universe. Yes, there may have been and will at times be sadness or feelings of distress, but those are not something that is dwelled upon and do not corral an individual's passion for living and doing. When a person lives with enthusiasm, they have an internal calmness, or as Henry David Thoreau described it, a supernatural serenity, because deep in their soul they know they are staying on their own path, working to fulfill their life's mission, which is their roadmap to find out where to go next. This person has faith in the universe and in themselves as part of the universe that is good. They recognize and understand that their dreams and passions, and even their spiritual life, are the engines of their development and evolution. They listen to their heart and the still small voice within, rather than the call of expediency and personal gain to guide them through ethical and moral difficulties. And they are willing to let people know that that is what guides them. Most of us probably remember a time when we were full of energy and excitement about everything. As little kids, we would get excited about a bug on the sidewalk or going to get an ice cream cone. As teens, we would get excited about buying a blouse or sneakers that were the in item of the day, or seeing a movie on the first night that it was shown in a theater. But as we got older, enthusiasm for life slowly faded for many of us. We had difficulties and disappointments, and our bodies aged and life seemed to get more difficult. We outgrew some of the fun things that in the past had given us excitement, or we came to believe that sophisticated adults were to always show that they were cool and unemotive. But probably the most common reason that many of us lost our enthusiasm in life as we age is that what we once saw as wondrous had become commonplace. The bug on the sidewalk, or the ice cream cone, or new clothing are experienced as just regular part of life, nothing to get excited about. Life became routine, and we slowly moved into living in a gray world. But if we feel that we are now in a gray world, we can actually recapture enthusiasm and zeal for living by doing a few basic things. First, we need to realize that we cannot make a withdrawal of enthusiasm energy unless we steadily put some into our emotional bank. You cannot draw from an account that is not replenished. If we are having difficulty finding enthusiasm with things that we are doing, perhaps we can consider Norman Vincent Peale's suggestion that we follow the as if principle. Act as if we were enthusiastic. Frank Betker, a baseball player in the early part of the 20th century, lived that philosophy and it significantly changed his life. As a young baseball player, he had been demoted from a position on a major league team to a minor league because his manager said that he lacked enthusiasm. Frank worked to reinvent himself and his attitude toward the game and life, consciously showing fervor in all that he did. And he was soon rewarded with that by being put back on the Major League ball team. After his career in baseball ended, he went to work for Fidelity Mutual, becoming the company's top salesperson for over 20 years, and was obviously financially rewarded for that. And then he went on to write 3 best-selling self-help books on the topic of living with zeal. His motto was, "Force yourself to act enthusiastic, and you will become enthusiastic." And living that way paid off for him. Second, we should consider the advice of psychologist Dr. Shirley Vandersteen, who suggests one of the keys to living a life with zest is to let go of past mistakes. She noted in a recent essay about living positively that life energy can be sucked up by guilt and regret because we have a metaphysical cloud hovering over our psyche. Now, we can't undo the past, but if we let go of our regrets, we can live more fully into our future. Third, we can see ourselves as the creators that we are. A person who lives their life with enthusiasm does not blame the course of their life on the universe or fate. They have no time for wallowing in the notion of predetermination or the cosmic roll of the die. They are busy working to find ways to co-create their existence with the forces of nature and life, or as psychologist Abraham Maslow named it, reaching for self-actualization. If we accept that we can do things to make a life better and happier for us, then we have good reason to live with zest and passion. And finally, to capture a life or recapture a life of enthusiasm, we need to stop wasting our mental and emotional energy worrying about the future. We work on what we can manage and stop worrying about that which cannot be controlled. That frees our emotions and mental abilities to walk boldly into our future. So for me, as a Unitarian Universalist, I see there is a deep lesson for all of us regarding regarding Pentecost and Sukkot. The lesson of these 2 festivals or celebrations are that we are to take the spirit of the universe, take in the power of the universe, and then send it back out with enthusiasm. I'm lighting this candle to honor all of us in our community, recognizing the challenges we are facing and the positive things that sometimes come to us in unusual ways. I invite you now to sort of settle back, settle into a moment now of meditation. Spirit of life, what a universe we live in. The magnificent stars and galaxies, the breadth and depth and complexity of our world. We feel our connections to the world around us. We delight in its beauty. And what a world we live in. Great varieties of people, great varieties of plants and animal species, not to forget about the many minerals and landscapes and climates that are part of our world. In this setting of wonder, we can find passion. We can find strength and purpose. We can find and express zeal for living. What a wonderful universe we live in. Amen. A couple of announcements before we close the service. On June 28th, I'll not be broadcasting a Channing Church service. Instead, I hope we will all sign into the UUA General Assembly Sunday worship service. Now, while there is a fee for General Assembly workshops and presentations, there is no cost to attend the Sunday worship service. We'll be sending more information about the service and General Assembly over the next couple of weeks, or go to uua.org/GA for information. So if you usually make a donation to Channing Church during the offertory and our regular services, I hope you will send a check in the amount of your usual donation to the church office, 135 Pelham Street, Newport, Rhode Island, 02840. And finally, if you find our service messages inspirational, I hope you'll let us know by clicking on like on Facebook, or with a thumbs up on YouTube, or with an email to churchoffice@channingchurch.org. In closing, may we keep the flame we lit to start our service in our hearts and minds to brighten our lives and light our paths as we go through the week. So be it. Amen.